Hello and welcome to my Retro Computer's latest video. My name is Sean Donahue and today I'm going to do a build that I've threatened to do for the last few weeks. It's the build that's been enshrouded in mystery because I haven't told anyone the contents of the build. I've just said that it's going to blow your socks off and it's going to be twice as powerful as the Ryzen build. So this is the Ryzen killer, if you will. So those of you that watch ETA Prime's channel would have seen this about 2-3 months ago, where he demoed this playing retro games and then did another video playing AAA games, and it blew his socks off. It was amazing performance for such a small case. So why is that? How can you get that much performance out of something that's only 40mm in height? Well, the answer to that is the fact that this has got a GTX 1650 graphics chip embedded onto the motherboard. So yes, this has got a graphics card within it. So it gives amazing performance, and when I saw the video I thought I've got to get me one of those. So I bought one, researched how to get the contents of this into the My64, and that's what this video is going to be about. Me sharing my experiences with installing this into the My64. So this is the My64. So those of you that's never been on our website, never been on the channel before, I'll just give you a quick sort of like walk around what this is. So on one end we have the SD card reader. On the back we've got the rear I/O shield output hole, you know, because this holds a mini i6 motherboard. And on the other end we've got the optical drive bay, and this instance we've got an ICY dock installed, and that enables us to fit a 2.5-inch hard drive from the outside. So you just push it in, clip it into place. First time we've ever tried it, and it works really well. And then we have the famous mechanical keyboard. So this is Cherry MX Blue key switches. Can you hear that tactile click? And then we have Signature Plastics keycaps, which are in themselves, they're a lovely profile. They're double shot keycaps, lovely profile. They're row 3, so as you look at it like that, they're all the same profile, but in itself this is a wonderful retro PC case. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to go through the learning curve and the process that I took to actually get that inside the My64. And at the end of this, if you like the My64 with this new Ryzen killer build within it, we might be able to offer this as a full system, depending on how much interest we get. So if you're interested in purchasing one of these, they're going to be around about £900 including VAT. So send us an email to info@myretrocomputer.com. If we get enough interest, then we'll be able to place an order with a Chinese company. There's a minimum order quantity of 25, and the reason for that is because they need to make a modification to the motherboard for us to be able to use it into the My64, and they need to justify that by setting a minimum order quantity of 25. So I'm going to stop rambling on now. I'm going to let you watch the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. I made some mistakes. I think my motto ought to be, I make the mistakes so you don't have to, because I do make mistakes. I have made mistakes, but I've tried to iron them all out. I've rectified them as I've gone along, but I've enjoyed this video. It's probably been the best video. I've had so much enjoyment in building it, especially at the very end. You'll understand it when you see it. But I'm going to stop rambling on now, and hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so we've got Assassin's Creed loading up now. You can see that this is running on the bench here now. And we've got the CPU temperature at the moment running around about 63 degrees, but obviously it's not under stress at the moment. The GTX 1650 is around about 50 degrees Celsius at the moment. So let's see what this is like. I wanted to show you it like this so that you can actually, so when we've actually got it running in the system, because it runs the chip. The actual case isn't running hot, but the chip's running quite hot. But it's because it's a laptop and they're designed to run hotter. At least that is what I've been told by the Chinese manufacturer. This is an i9 processor. We've got 16 gig of DDR RAM running, and we've got a 500 gigabyte hard drive. So now the i9 is up to 85 degrees, and remember this is outside. I've got no restrictions here whatsoever. You might be able to hear it, but look at the frame rates here. We're on 60, around about 60 FPS. So the graphics, now these are on medium settings, they're not low settings like the Ryzen. These are on medium settings. I'm going to double check that in a sec to make sure I'm right, but I'm pretty sure I am. But yeah, so we're on 59 degrees for the GTX 1650, and the CPU i9 is 86 degrees. The i9 usage is, at the moment, it's running on average, I'd say about 65%. It goes down and it goes up. But as soon as I've got out the water, I'm just going to check the graphical settings, but I'm pretty sure we've set it to medium. And if we have, I'll change that to low so we can actually see what we get. So where are we? Options, graphics. There we go. They're on medium settings. So let's put that to low, so that we're on 1080p still. So if we apply, yes. So we'll restart this. I'll cut this bit out. Okay, it's back, it's loaded up. We're just about to start playing it again. So this will be on low settings, so this will be like for like. So when we did the Ryzen build, the extra cooling video a couple of weeks back, we had that on low settings but 1080p, and we were getting 30 frames per second. So this is exactly the same. So this is set on low settings, 1080p. Let's see what we're getting. And we're using, we're on 85 degrees. It's basically levels out, I've found, at 85 degrees. And I was testing it. We had a little mini heat wave a couple of weeks back, and it was on the day I was doing all the testing, it was 30 degrees, and it didn't make any difference to the processor. It was still running at 85 degrees. So here we are. Right, let's go around. We're running on 70 frames per second, so we're another 10 frames per second faster. Well, 77 frames a second. So like for like, this is well over twice as powerful as the Ryzen. So it's, you know, for Assassin's Creed anyway, it's amazing. So I think that proves it. I mean, we're averaging around about 70 frames per second, whereas we was averaging 60 frames per second when we had it on medium settings. So it's a full 10 frames per second faster if we lower it down to low settings. But I mean, those settings are amazing. Basically, it truly is. So we'll leave it there. What I'm going to do is we'll come back in a sec and we'll start the building process. Right then, so I've taken the liberty of removing the heatsink and fan so that we can actually take a look at this mini ITX board. It's great that, number one, it's a mini ITX motherboard. There's one extra screw hole here that we don't need to use, obviously. We're just picking up the standard mini ITX screw points, which are 1, 2, 3, 4. We forget the middle. The board itself is quite thin. If you can look at it, it is very thin. And then if we look at the panel outputs on the back, it's not very tall. We can see that we've got the power here, so we don't need a PICU power supply. But when you actually look at the board, there's not much going on, considering it's got a GTX 1650, so it's got a separate graphics card within the actual board. There's not much going on. It's brilliant. The only thing that I will say is I wish there was a USB 3.1 on the actual motherboard, because that would have given us we could have had the side ports as USB 3. So that's a shame, but other than that, I think the actual layout of this is quite good. Whether it's you know, it doesn't look like there's much going on. Whether that equates to not a very good built board and it don't last long, I don't know. I mean they've been out for over a year, and I've been looking, and there's no bad reports about this board. It's a pretty good board, so only time will tell. So the other thing I want to show you on this, so this is the original case. So this, I got this out of the original case, and basically was blown away by it, but at the same time I was thinking, oh no, it's going to be a nightmare to use. And that's because here here we have the front panel outs. Now they're printed on the board, but they're just not populated. And then if I use my little pointing device, and then down on this side we have USB 2 there and another USB 2 there, again not populated. Now obviously we need that to put it into our case, so I got hold of the Chinese company again, and they graciously, I mean they didn't have to, but they actually put them on for me. So on this one I'm told there's hardly any in the world that have got these populated. It's pretty much, they've just done it for me. So if I raise this up so you can see it again, you're going to see that on here we have the front panel outputs, and then on here we've got the two USB 2s. So we're in a perfect situation where we can actually use the internal keyboard and the internal card reader. So we can use that because we've got super duper cooling within this. We don't need the vent plate because we haven't got a PICU power supply, so we haven't got the hole inside. So it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is populate the RAM slots while the heatsink and fan is out of the way. It's a lot easier to do it with it out of the way, even though the instructions tell you can do it afterwards. It's quite difficult to get past the heatsink to do that. The next thing we're going to do is put this Wi-Fi card in. Now this isn't the stock Wi-Fi card, this is one I've bought, so we've got the decent Wi-Fi. So there's the card itself. I'll move that out of the way. Now this is one of those cards where you've got to put the wires on yourself and you've got to push them in, and it was, I don't mind saying, it was an absolute nightmare, and I'm glad that I didn't end up filming it, because the problem I had, because I've already done this today already, the problem I had is I filmed myself putting the wires onto the wireless card. I filmed myself doing the heatsink, and the battery run out on the camera, and I didn't know. So basically a part of the build, an important part of the build, is missing. So I've got to explain that in a sec, but let's carry on with this wireless card and put this in. We've got the wireless card in, and the next thing we're going to do is put the M.2 hard drive. So building this up is so simple. If it wasn't for the fact we had to take the heatsink fan off, I don't know whether I said, we have to take the heatsink fan out the way to get access to this screw hole. So that was the reason why I had to take it off, because I could have, there's nothing stopping me from snapping off those fins with it all in situ. So the only reason that I've had to strip it down, I mean it's nice to strip it down to show you what it's made of, but the only reason I've had to strip it down is because that hole is covered up by the heatsink fan. Other than that, we'd have left it in, we'd have completely left it as it was. So now is the important bit where the camera stopped recording, and I didn't know. So this is the heatsink fan, right? So it goes in that position like that, and there's a slight problem with it fitting inside the case. So if you can imagine, that's inside the case now. Around about here we have the fan block that holds the fan that you slot in, and these fins are in the way. 4 of them are. Now if you can imagine, let me find one that's in good nick. If you can imagine, if you add 4 together, they'd be about to there. So if you look at that position, it's got nothing to do with this fan. So the airflow from this fan, let me get my little pointing device, it's coming from here and going straight out that way. So the actual fins on this side that we snapped off don't have any airflow going through them. Yes, they've got some way of slowly releasing the heat, but they're not going to dramatically change the way that this system cools in having a few of these snapped off. So how I snap them off without actually snapping any more off, because I don't need any more off, is you put the screwdriver, flat screwdriver, in the gap and you just lever it out, and they just ping off. They just go ding. So they come off really easily. So as you look at this now, we don't need to take any off that end. We just need to take 4 from this end, and then this will not be in the way of the build of the case at all. So I'm just going to flip these over. I'm going to make sure these blue thermal tape pieces of tape are still in situ, and then we've got the other ones for these chips here underneath here, which we have. So I am going to lower this over. Now you might think that's, you know, the grease on there is fine. I've got some underneath this, and those areas are quite good. The actual people in China have told me that in actual fact we can't put this on yet. I can't put this on until this is in the case, because otherwise we can't get access to that. So let's put this in the case now. So there's another bit of work that we've got to do here in order for this to fit. Now if you look at this standard stock metal plate that holds the slimline optical drive in position, it's always had this cutout here because obviously we've got the fan there and it blocks airflow, so we had that bit cut out of the way. But on the other side there's no cutout, so if I lift that up so you can see it, it's not cut out. That side's cut out. You can see it like that. If I hold it like that, you can actually, I had it in a good position then, didn't I? But you can see one side's cut, the other side's not. Well, for this build, so that it's not in the way of our new exhaust ducting, keeps on calling it a different name every time. I think exhaust port sounds really good. But on this one, we've had to cut this side out as well. So if I turn it around so you can see it, you can see it there. That can be done with a hacksaw or a 4.5 inch angle grinder. I did it with a hacksaw. It's nice and neat. So it matches up. So if I turn it that way, you can actually see that I've cut that out. So they're the same to both sides, right? So that's that bit done. But there's something else we have to do, and that is we need to remove the post. So there's inside this, you've probably noticed it if you've got one of these cases, we have a post here which is for an internal aerial. So in the days of Commodore USA, they used to have an aerial mounted in there and it would screw in here like that. But obviously we don't need that. It's in the way of this. So when we're cutting the metal bits out on the optical drive plate, we need to cut this off with a hacksaw flush. It's very easy to do. It doesn't take very long, and my advice is to actually do it nice and slow and make sure you don't score all the case up. So do a really nice job of it, and once you've done that, you'll end up with it like this. So you can't even see that I've cut it. I mean, it's where is it? It's there. So you can hardly see that I've cut anything out. And it's not there, it's around about here. But anyway, so that's that done. One more thing I wanted to say is we have to, the actual stock holes that you get for fixing this onto the actual chassis are very tiny, and they're not big enough for the screws we use. So I had to, you've got to man up for this, I had to drill the 4 holes out with a 4.5mm drill bit. I don't know what that is in Imperial, I do apologise. But I had to open them up big enough to be able to take the screws. It was very easy to do. It took me a matter of 20-30 seconds and it was done. There's no circuitry around there. You just got to be nice and careful, drill from above, and then just blow off the excess silicone dusty stuff when you've finished. But right, what we're going to do is we're going to lower this in, and then we're going to bring the, oh, I'll have to do it this way. We're going to bring the rear I/O shield into place. Make sure it's clipped in. In actual fact, I'm thinking of cable tidiness here. Maybe another turn would do some, make it better. Let's have a look. Bring that over across so you can see it better. Is that any better? Don't like that. Just thinking, if I could put that behind there and put it underneath the card reader in a minute. So if I put that there again, I've just got to get around the back of here to make sure it slots in. Okay, so we're going to offer this up to the actual I/O shield, and then we're going to screw this in. Not doing these up tight yet, I'm just going to get them in place first, and then we can push it with a little bit of forward motion. The good thing about this build is it looks very professional, like it's a proper, I mean, I know it's a proper factory built thing, but it looks very professionally made. And if I do say so myself, I think it's like this motherboard was made for this case. That's what it feels like, because it's such an easy build. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that this screw here you couldn't get access to, it would be such a fast build to put this together. You're talking a few minutes. The fast, out of all the builds that I've done, it would have been the fastest build, because you haven't got the PICU power to sort out. You haven't got, there's lots of things you'd have to worry about. You haven't got to put the chips on. Oh, it is a nice piece of kit, this is. I really do like it. The battery, I'm just going to stick that on the side of the case there, so it's out of the way. If I can actually get hold of it. Now the new replacement motherboard, this motherboard didn't come with the battery, so I had to nick that from the old motherboard. So now we are ready to put this heatsink fan into position. So I'm going to bring it over. Just want to make sure, double check the tape's in place. It is. So let's lower that over there like that, and make sure they're all in line, which they are, and then we can start screwing this down. So we've got quite a few screws to put in here. 1, 2, not doing them up tight, I'm just putting them in. Once they're all in, we can do them up. My golden rule: do not do anything up until all the screws are in, because otherwise you'll get so far along and then you won't be able to get a screw to go in, because the holes will not line up, they'll be out of alignment. So that's 4, 5, and the last one. So this is screwing the actual copper pipes and the Heatsinks into place. Don't want to do them up too tight, I just want to pinch them, so we know that we've got a good heat transfer through the chips and into the copper base plate, and then the brass base plate, and then, sorry, no, it is copper, what am I talking about? The copper base plate, and then the copper tube in the piping. So that's in place. The next thing we're going to do is bring over this metal plate, which screws into there, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to fit. Now you can see how difficult it would be to put the RAM in with this in place. It is, you can do it, it's possible, but it's a bit of a nightmare to get that bottom RAM in. The top RAM goes in easy, but the one at the bottom is quite difficult to fit in. Last one. And we tighten them up. And then we just flap these over. Now this setup didn't come with the tape, the first one did, so I robbed the tape to put it on this one. I'm going to plug the fans back in. This one's quite tricky to get into place, but just persevere with it, you'll get it in. I don't want to push this down with a screwdriver, because if you slip, the screwdriver is just going to go straight into the motherboard and ruin it. So now we've got some screws to put in to screw down the fan. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 6 screws to put in. So you can see what I mean. There's a lot of screws involved in this, and it would have been so much easier if we'd have had access to that somehow. I mean, I could have completed this build without putting that screw in. It would have been fine, but let's do the job right. Once we've got this in, the actual, I mean, it was beforehand, it's a fully built computer. It's only missing you know, the front panel and the 2 USB headers. So that's built. The next thing I want to do is put on the card reader. Remember, this particular build, we're able to utilize the actual stock card reader that comes with this case, which is great. It's one of the first times I've done that, I think, you know, being able to use that. So let's put this in. Sometimes this is tricky to, as you can imagine, I've had a lot of experience in putting these card readers in, and sometimes they're tricky because the actual PCB board sometimes lifts the card reader front face plate, the plastic face, it lifts it up. So you've always got to make sure that you're pushing it down when you're doing it, and then they all line up. Okay, so that's all right. So I could, in fact I will. We've got a bit of extra wire here, so we want to sort this wire out. And in actual fact, what I should have done was put that wire and tuck it underneath and then just bring the bit out I needed. Let's see if I can. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'll have to take this back off again. We want to keep it, you know, we want to keep the cables nice and neat. Sometimes it's not going to affect the build at all, as in if you haven't got any moving parts. I mean, we have here, we've got 2 fans, but you still want to make your build nice and neat. And in doing this, you're going to do that. Make sure that's right. Is that going to work? No, that's not. So we'll have to take that bit out, and then it will work. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so we've done that. So let's put this back. Is that going to be okay? Yes, it is. I've got my favourite part of this build coming up. Well, this is my favourite part, but I've got another good part, and that is the ICY dock. We're going to put an ICY dock in this build, which I can't wait. I can't wait to do. So I'm going to bring this cable underneath, and remember with this you get after the cables have been used for a certain amount of time, after they've been in the positions they're in, they will want to stay there. At the moment they're fighting you all the way. They want to do what they want to do, but after a while they will actually stay down, you know, out the way like that. That's what we want it to do. And after a few weeks of getting hot and cooling down, they're going to actually want to stay in that position, same as these ones. If we tuck them down underneath like that, they will eventually want to stay down like that. Okay, so that's that part done. The next thing I want to do is fit my ICY dock. So been looking forward to this for a while now. So let's turn it around this way, put me screws in position. These are tiny fiddly little things. They are tiny as well. They're the smallest screws you can get, I think. Let's do it a different way. Let's put that on first, and then offer it up like that. There we go, that's the best way to do it. These are nice little black screws you get with this ICY dock. Been telling myself, because I feel like my VIC-20 is being left out on the builds. I think I've only done one build with the my VIC-20. So I was meant to do this with this build with the my VIC-20, and I forgot. But I'm not going to, from now on, for the next few builds that we do, I'm going to use a my 64. Apart from if we're going back over an old build like the Max Tang. But yeah, the VIC-20 needs a bit of love now, I think. Okay, so that is ready to be screwed in. So if I bring this back across, we turn that around the other way and line them up. Triple Axis has done I think they've done a great job, haven't they, of doing these plates. I'm so happy with how it's turned out. I really am. I mentioned it a few weeks back when I was doing a Ryzen build about I was doing another project, and it come out so good I thought I could use that for the Ryzen build. And this is the actual build I was talking about. So I was doing this build, and I knew that I would need some 3D printing. So I contacted them. I asked a friend who said there's a company in Portsmouth that's near us. It's only about 7-8 miles away as a crow flies. So I phoned them up and they said, yeah, come down. And I went to see them, and they were so professional, explained what I wanted, and within a day, so much better than the metal company that done the metal plates. Within a day they were back saying, would this work? And I looked at it and I said, I think it will, please print it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't, then I'll still pay for it. And they printed it, and it was absolutely perfect. So I don't know whether you've noticed on these plates, but when I had them made, I had 2 screw holes. I didn't know why, but I thought this area of the case here might have something in it at a later date. So I got them to put 2 screw holes in, and hey presto, forward a year, and this is being screwed in. So this slots in, and because it's a bigger piece of plastic, I thought it needed that little lug so we can locate the screw there, pick up on the screw and screw it in. So we're gonna actually slot this in place now. It does go in, there we go. So we're slotting that in. We'll put the finger guard in the back. So you see what I mean about this, is it looks like this is a system that is from a factory, and that's how it is. It really does look good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to screw this into position. Now this is quite awkward because you can't get level with the screw you're holding the screw at a slight angle, and which is difficult for it to pick up on the thread. Let's try it with this screwdriver, I think. So you've got to be gentle because you could cross thread it, so you've got to try and screw it in at an angle that you know is true to the metal plate, which is that is. So I'm just going to screw that in till it pinches. It's pinched, so that's nice and tight. Now if you look at this now, you can actually see that the profile of this goes down and up again, and that's like it is on the Ryzen build on the vent pipe, so that we can get the cables in. Now one thing that they don't supply, they do, but it's no good for our build. They supply a cable, but it's nowhere near long enough, because on this the 2.5-inch hard drive is expected to be mounted here, and obviously ours isn't mounted there, ours is mounted over here, so we need a longer cable. So the cable that they supplied wasn't long enough, so I, in my wisdom, got an old Molex cable. Well, this is an old slimline SATA cable that I had lying around with a Molex end on it, and I've scarfed in, if you can see, I've got these heat shrinks, and I've just heat shrink them on, and I've got the actual plug, so that's the power plug there, so that I can actually get the power over to the optical drive. So if I plug this in, I mean obviously if we did this, we'd have to get, the company would have to do us the proper wires that we'd need. Right, that's there. Okay, so what I've done in the end is I've routed it around here and plug, so it plugs in there, so it looks quite neat. I don't know whether that's going to interfere, create radio interference, because it's quite close to these antenna, but I'm going to chance it anyway. So I'm going to put it in there. I'm also going to do the golden rule, put the actual thread the cable tie through the cable tie mount before you actually stick it on, because I've got a feeling this is going to be a difficult one to do. So if I go like that and put it down a bit, because we don't want it to be in the way of the top half of the case, and then we bring that round like that. It's quite a fiddly one, this. There we go. It's nice and neat. I like that. I like the way that is there. I'll get my nice little safe snips. I'll snip that. And we're going to have one more mount, and that's it really. This is proving to be a bit of a challenge to try and make this neat, and I've come to the conclusion I can't. So what I'm going to do is put a cable mount, cable tie mount, on the top of the fan here. I don't think there's any other solution at the moment, so I'm just going to put the cable tie through the mount, and it's unfortunate. I mean, there's nothing I can do. There's nowhere for it to go. It's a bit of a pain, but there you go. I really don't like it near the memory. I'm going to put another cable tie in around here just to hold it up above. So if I come in around there and grab all those wires, I don't like the fact that the Molex connector is near my memory. There we go. It's up there now. It's not the neatest thing in the world, but it'll do for this build. So that's as far as I'm going to take the video for the actual build. I'm sure you've seen it countless times about the keyboard plugging in and the front panel mounts. I'll take a photograph of that anyway. But as you see this now, this is going to be the fastest My 64 C64X or the most powerful graphical wise that we've ever produced. This is a monster. So let's move on and we'll show you this running. We'll show you with heavy load and Assassin's Creed. Hello, you join us. I've got Assassin's Creed loaded up. I've been playing it for a few minutes and I just want to show you what the settings are. So we go onto the graphics, they're on low, so the whole thing's on low settings, but we're on native 1080p. So if we go back and then if we go back again, so we're on 80 frames a second, 78, 76. So we're doing really well on the frame rate. The temperature, we've got a GTX of that's on 80 degrees and the i9's on 85 degrees, so it's running quite hot, but it's not, because this is designed, so I'm told by the Chinese manufacturer, this is laptop architecture, so it's like a gaming laptop, and they're designed to run hotter. So this is well within its temperature parameters, running at 84 degrees for the CPU, running at 80 degrees for the GPU. So we haven't got any issues with the temperatures. And also when we were running this benchmarking it on, actually running it outside of the case on the bench, that's the temperatures we were getting anyway. So let's carry on. Just go through. I just want to keep on running around. I mean, we're averaging around about, I'd say, 65 frames a second. So it's double the Ryzen build. 70 frames a second. And when I tested this a few weeks back with the other board, we had a heat wave here in the UK, and the ambient temperature outside on the day I tested it was 30 degrees. And I'm happy to say that didn't affect these temperatures at all. They were still exactly the same as what they are now. So what we'll do now is we'll come out of here and we're going load up heavy load. I'll let it run for 10 minutes and then you can come in on that and you can see the temperatures. Okay, so this has been nearly running for 6 minutes now, and I don't know how to get heavy load to stress the CPU and the graphics card at the same time. So this is only stress testing the CPU, the Core i9 across all the cores, but it's been running and it's been pretty much basically it's been pretty much at 100%. So the temperature is 85 degrees. It hasn't gone above 85 degrees, which I think is pretty good, and it's been running on 100% across all the cores. But what we'll do now is we'll stop this test and then test the graphics card separately to see what happens with the graphics card. Okay, so this stress test has been running for 10 minutes now, and I don't think we're getting the true readings. We've got the 1650 usage at 0, and I know it's not. And we've got the temperature at 54 degrees, which I don't think it is, but I think it is using the graphics card, because the frame rate's at 1200 frames a second, whereas earlier on when we were using the CPU it was in the 300s. So I think it is using the graphics card, but I don't think it's stressing it out, and the fan's slowed down as well, so I can't really tell. I don't know what I'm doing with this and why it won't pick it up. Okay, so I've taken out the thing, the drawer, the tray that holds the hard drive in. I'm just going to put this old hard drive in. I was going to put a new one in, but it's only a 250 gigabyte hard drive, and I thought I don't want to ruin the box to get it out for this when I've got a 120 gig one here. I don't know what's on it, but I just thought this would be ideal to test it. What I want to do is boot back into Windows 10 and just see the hard drive there. Make sure it's picked it up and it can see it. So that's what we're going to do. I apologise if you can't see me doing this, but I'm only putting the 4 screws in. These are so fiddly, these screws, it's easy to drop them. They're the same type screws that I was just using to screw the heatsink all together. They're tiny little things. I'm just going to give them a little pinch. and then I'll bring this up to the camera so you can see it from the back. So you can see the 4 screws, and then that's the front. It's 120 gig, so it's not a very big one, but it's ideal for just showing you this working. This is great. I'm gonna, for all my own personal ones, I'm getting these ICY docks. I think they're fantastic. So what we'll do is we'll boot into Windows, and we just go into this PC, you know, my computer, and just see the hard drive, just to prove that this works. But yeah, so this is a great emulating machine. It's like a I mean, if you watch ETA Prime's video, he does lots of emulation on it, and then he plays AAA games. I think he's got 2 videos. I'm looking at. This is Back to Zero. I tried Back to Zero out a while ago, and I thought I can't really show this on the channel because it's linked to piracy and things like that on old retro games, and I don't want to get involved in anything like that. As you can see, this hasn't got anything on it anyway, but this was just the stock. I don't believe it's actually booted into this. So this is a stock Back to Zero installation that just comes with some demo games. But how good is that? So I've put the hard drive in. It's obviously had Back to Zero on it, and then this system is booted from the new hard drive. How good is that? So this proves what you can do on this. I don't want to dwell on that because I don't want to get in trouble, but this is fantastic to be able to do this. It's just made my day, that has. So there you go. So you could have Windows, and you can actually have something else in here like Linux. Slide it in, boot it up, and it's going to boot into Linux. Absolutely fantastic. If you like this video, please subscribe. We could do with, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I think it would be absolutely fantastic for this channel to get that many subscribers. I think we're pushing towards 500 at the moment. So if you like what you've seen doing this build, I think this is a gaming monster. This is ideal now for modern PC games. I mean, it was with the Ryzen build, but now it's twice as fast. It's, you know, for gaming, it's absolutely out of this world. And for retro gaming, I'm sure it plays so much stuff. But again, I don't want to get involved in that. But thank you so much for watching this video. I've enjoyed every minute of it. This has made my day, this video, and this, you know, this Back to Zero coming up on that. What are the chances of that? But anyway, thanks for watching this. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you think what we've done has been good. Don't forget to turn notifications on. I'll be at a RetCon on Saturday, and we might see you there. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.